Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, may I have your attention, please? Are you ready to engage in a mind-blowing experience and hear talks about life, technology, entertainment, and business? The next episode of HIPTHER Talks starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi everyone, Zoltan here. We are back with HIPTHER Talks this week again, and today we are going to talk about the tokenized precious metal platform, VNX, and we have today Alexander Tkachenko, CEO of VNX. Hi Alexander, it's nice to meet you. Nice to have you here.
Hi Zoltan. Hi everybody. Very nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
So first thing, to kick things off, tell us a bit about your background, because we usually like to introduce the speaker that we have on as a guest. So please just share some things about your background.
I'm an entrepreneur. I'm also a VC who got into crypto in 2017, early on. Looked at the different opportunities that blockchain is offering and saw that tokenization of real asset is probably one of the best use cases, and created VNX and have been developing it ever since.
All right. So what is VNX? Could you tell us more about it?
VNX is an asset tokenization platform. We're the first platform in Europe that got regulatory approval to tokenize precious metals, and we've launched VNX Gold, our first product, to the market this year.
All right, so thank you very much. So, which perspective do you see in the precious metals tokenization? Because this sounds very interesting.
Precious metals have been with humankind for about 4,000 years or maybe longer, give or take. And they offer storage of value. And what the new technology offers is a much wider availability of the precious metals in the countries such as US, Europe. There are a lot of possibilities to try to access or to invest into the precious metals, less so in the other countries. And with the use of blockchain, actually, that becomes quite universal. Precious metals allow a hedge against inflation, against rogue governments or rogue players, and it's a natural defensive asset for the crypto investors when the things go a little bit not as expected. So that would be probably the three use cases that I see for the tokenized precious metals.
So basically, a suggestion would be to invest in tokenized precious metals rather than other cryptocurrencies?
Not necessarily. I view it more as a defensive or hedge instrument, i.e., it's the time where you would like to park your assets and during the downturn, and then when the spring comes, crypto spring comes, then obviously you can exit VNX Gold, for example, and then invest into the other more income generating assets, still keeping in mind the possibility to go back to VNX Gold when you see the negative prospects for the assets that you've invested.
Okay, so yeah, that's a good idea. So everyone listening here, you heard it here first, the mention of crypto spring, because everybody's talking about crypto winter. Never we have heard about crypto spring on our podcast before. So here it is, first time, it gives us hope. So VNX was recently listed on LBank. I searched around. I want to know more about this. And could you tell us more about what LBank is and maybe some opportunities which it opened for your company?
We are, in that sense, exchange agnostic. We hope that our products will be available on a variety of the exchanges or accessed through different platforms. it's just one of the bigger exchanges, and we do hope that VNX will be available on the others as well.
All right. So, but it opens some opportunities for you guys.
Of course, it does. Each exchange has its user base, and hopefully through these platforms, much bigger amount of people who are holding their assets or trading can access VNX.
All right. So VNX, you mentioned that is the first European regulated investment platform for tokenized precious metals. And could you tell us more about crypto regulation in Europe and how policymakers have changed their attitude to crypto, especially after the FTX collapse?
The policy towards crypto in Europe is changing over the years. We can see some countries such as Liechtenstein developing the comprehensive legislation. Here it's called the Blockchain Act, which regulates the players who are working with crypto assets. VNX is licensed in Liechtenstein. At the same time, we see the development of the pan-European legislation called MiCA. So the European regulatory space is taking shape, so to say. At the same time, the collapse of FTX has been a very recent event, and there were a number of the calls for stricter regulations or for strict application of the already available laws. But to be honest, I have not seen the practical implications of the changes of the regulatory regime so far.
All right, but the FTX collapse has certainly made some waves, and many are considering the regulations. So how should the investor choose where to put their money? So it's either DeFi or CeFi. DeFi, like for decentralized finance, and CeFi for centralized finance. So in your opinion, how should investors choose where to put their money?
It's actually a very difficult question. Number one, for some users, DeFi would be a natural choice. It's typically more technologically savvy, more independent-minded investors. The CeFi is more attractive to the casual investors, so to say. And those investors, in my view, would be better off by seeking regulated solution, checking the investors do check the protocols, they do check the history or the background of different projects. It's necessary to do the same for the exchanges. And in my opinion, we would see the development of a hybrid, i.e. centralized DeFi, so to say, i.e. the platforms that would allow users access to the certain parts of DeFi services. So I think it's a little bit depending on a particular investor, what his or her preferences would be. But I really suggest that people do take caution at the moment, because the things are for sure not very stable. For sure, they're very fluid at the moment.
Yeah, I would like to add that any particular moment they should take into consideration also the having a good mental health, because
Sure.
It's not for everyone having investing in cryptocurrencies and tokenized assets. It's when seeing such differences, it's not for everyone, and they would quickly make mistakes which they might either regret or not regret in the future. But so RVNX.
But here, can I make a small point? I think it's necessary to take caution with any investment product, because if you look at the stocks of Meta, for example, or some other technological stocks, they're not necessarily doing a lot better than Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly.
So people really need to take caution when they are investing. So obviously they need to invest only those amounts that they don't need in a short perspective. They need to take a much longer view. That's why Crypto Spring that I mentioned is very important. People need to be able to kind of sleep calmly during the 2-3 years when the things may actually go south and go south very, very significantly. But yes, they really need to take precaution at any moment. You're totally correct in this one.
Exactly. So are VNX users' assets fully backed?
Yes, they're fully backed. Each token is represented by physical gold. So all tokens that are issued have a gold bar, and each token is linked to a particular gold bar. In essence, VNX is only issuing tokens once it received the information from the storage facility, which gold bar is available for this or that purchase of the gold tokens.
All right. So a question comes up very often. Why is it important to have a fully backed token?
That's a very interesting question. Tokens per se, of course, can be very different.
Yeah.
Some are utility, some are jokes, which have no utility. Some are kind of asset-backed. Obviously, jokes don't need to be backed by anything. When you're speaking about utility tokens, for example, the one that give access, you can pay the fees with, etc., etc., they don't need to be backed by anything except being accepted by the protocol or the platform that has issued them. The issue that you raised is important for the asset-backed tokens because these tokens, like, for example, VNX Gold, are a storage of value. These are the tokens that people rely on when they would like to hedge, they would like to wait during the periods of downturn. And it's important to have fully backed tokens in this particular case because this is a defensive asset. And these assets, by being called asset-backed, obviously are linked to something. And here it's extremely important that it's very transparent to everybody that the tokens which claim to be backed by whatever it is actually are backed by it. That's I think the use case for the importance of the asset-backed tokens.
All right, so let's talk about the FTX crash. We have to talk about it. I really don't like talking about it because it happened. Let's get over it because that's the way the things work. So, but there's many questions about the attitude of the investors after this period. So, in your opinion, how has the attitude of investors changed to safety after FTX crashed?
They, of course, different investors. They are investors who invested into FTX itself, venture capital investors, funds. I think all of them have taken a time to reconsider what they're doing in blockchain, in crypto, but in general, I think in their attitude to the investments, because FTX is not necessarily a very specific crypto story. Yeah. It's the story of negligence. It's the story of carelessness, maybe a story of behavior which needs to be looked by the investigators.
It's a long story.
Exactly. It's a very long story, but which may not necessarily be
tied to crypto, yeah.
Exactly, tied to crypto. You had Wirecard cases, you had Madoff cases. I mean, the whole concept of Ponzi scheme started from, Ponzi. I'm not saying that FTX is a Ponzi scheme, but what I'm trying to say is that for sure, in the traditional non-crypto products, there were failures before.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure, the VC investors are looking at their attitudes to the investment into the companies, taking this into account. When you look at the crypto investors, I think you have also two types of crypto investors. One is institutional, and these are the guys who for sure are reviewing their policies towards counterparty risk. How do they do due diligence of their counterparties or their partners, etc., etc., etc. And then, of course, they are investors who, individual investors who just generally got burned by the collapse of FTX. And I think these are the people who are now re-evaluating two things. One, the general attitude toward crypto, and two, toward particular players in crypto. So I think that's probably the big field that we have. In my view, FTX collapse has had a very significant impact on the crypto market, on the attitude of all types of investors to the crypto market. And it will lead to a much more in-depth analysis of the players on the crypto market.
All right. So what are the most important lessons in business this year for you?
When things go bad, they may go bad really seriously from different aspects, totally unexpected. This year has actually shown that the risks may be very narrow, like industry specific or even company specific. They can be very broad, like economy wide, and they can be geopolitical, which is, we see in Europe. And, when things do go back, they may go back bad really, really seriously. And I think that's a very, very serious lesson for all investors, that things may go bad and they may go bad very, very badly.
Right, so it can go very, very south then.
Absolutely.
All right, so 2022 is already almost behind us. There's a couple of days left from this year. So I would like to ask you about what are your market predictions for next year?
It's very difficult to make predictions, especially about the future.
Unless you create it.
Unless you create it, yes, unless you create it. I don't really see the situation improving dramatically. That's probably a very safe prediction to say. The economic situation, in my view, is still playing out. The combination of the factors in the economy, in my view, has not reached its kind of low point or, the turning point, so to say. So it may actually still go worse. The geopolitical situation for sure is not resolved and may turn one way or another, but it may actually turn for worse. The crypto situation, FTX collapse happened, a few weeks ago, which means that it might take some time until the last kind of shock waves are felt in the industry. So my projection is that we would still see a little bit of the downward trend. At the same time, my prediction is that next year we will probably kind of start to see the leveling off. If not, it will start to turn a little bit better. economic-wise, political-wise. And for the crypto market, I'm a big believer in blockchain. I do believe in crypto, and therefore I do feel that next year that we will at least start to feel the first glimpses of spring. Maybe not full spring, but at least the first glimpses will be there.
All right. So we've been talking about with another guest, Dean Rakic, about blockchain technology and its use in our daily lives. And of course, I've asked him about this about crypto winter, and his reply was that the crypto winter is good in terms that it will shake off all those tokens and cryptocurrencies which were there for just for being there, because they had no value, they had no purpose. So is this your opinion as well, that it's a good time to shake things off and be even more complex and more focused on some of the tokens and cryptocurrencies?
Yes, I totally agree with this.
All right.
I think that's probably a very good way to put it. Crypto winter is good because it crystallizes the good projects. It separates the projects that are here with a purpose and are doing something, strategically interesting. There are casualties, of course. I mean, there are companies that are doing something really good, but because of the downturn, they were not able to do it. But overall, I would say that it's good because those projects which will come out from this winter will have a real value and are the ones that are much, much stronger.
All right. So thank you so much for your time today. And to all our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Let's all thank Alexander for this great session. And let's stay safe and look forward to having you at our next episodes. Thank you, Alexander.
Thank you very much, Zoltan. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you for joining. Be sure to check back next week for the next HIPTHER Talks and subscribe on Amazon Music, Overcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, and Pandora.